Hi, good morning. I'm Whitney Fauntleroy, one of the pastors here at Westminster. The other day, I was reading an article about the Quaker Friends meetings that are happening on Zoom. If you know anything about the Quaker faith, corporate worship for them includes sitting in a room and sitting in silence, waiting for the Spirit to speak to them. And I was reading this and I thought it was so beautiful and just sort of so awe-inspiring. Namely, because I really struggle with silence and being still. Even when it's quiet, I don't feel like my life is always silent. I've got a lot of rambling thoughts. It's really hard for me to focus. These are things I'm learning a lot these days as I try new practices of meditation and yoga. So I've been thinking a lot about silence because I had read a devotional by Henry Nouwen called Out of Solitude that talked a lot about what we can learn from the silence. And as I think about the silence and the stillness and the fact that where we are going in this region, in the state, about returning means that we will return to a bit of noise, even if it is a different noise. I just want us to hold space for what we can learn in the silence and in the stillness. And a couple of things that I've been thinking about just in my own time of silent reflection and really just trying to meditate on God and God's will for my life. A couple things I know that we can learn from the silence. We can learn dependence, learning that we are not the creator, but the created. We can learn about our desire and God's desire. And we can learn discernment and direction about our own lives and what God might be leading us to. I like to read a quote from Henry Nouwen out of his book, Out of Solitude. He writes, "In solitude, we can slowly unmask the illusion of our possessiveness and discover in the center of our own self that we are not what we can conquer, but what is given to us. In solitude, we can listen to the voice of God who spoke to us before we could speak a word, who healed us before we could make any gesture to help, who set us free long before we could free others, and who loved us long before we could give love to anyone. It is in this solitude that we discover that being is more important than having, and that we are worth more than the result of our efforts. In solitude, we discover that our life is not a possession to be defended, but a gift to be shared. It's there we recognize that the healing words we speak are not just our own, but are given to us. That the love we can express is part of a greater love, and that the new life we bring forth is not a property to cling to, but a gift to be received. In solitude, we become aware that our worth is not the same as our usefulness. We can learn much in this respect from the old tree in the Tao story about a carpenter and his apprentice. I read too much. You don't really need to know about that Tao stuff. But I think what really hits me is that our being is more important than our doing. So I encourage you, as hard as it can be, to find times of silence and stillness, whether you're homeschooling and working or whatever's going on. Maybe it's in the shower, maybe it's, you have to get up a little bit early or stay up a little bit later, just to find times of silence and stillness where you can be reminded of your dependence on God, God's desires for you, and to discern what God is trying to do in your life. I want to close with Psalm 131. It's only 3 verses. Listen now and let this be our prayer. Lord, my heart isn't proud. My eyes aren't conceited. I don't get involved with things too wonderful for me. No, but I have calmed and quieted myself, like a weaned child on its mother. I'm like the weaned child on me. Israel, wait for the Lord, from now until forever from now. Amen.